interesting fight coming up this weekend at strawweight. Sampage looking to reverse the fortune. She's looking to get rid of the hat trick that you don't want. She's almost en route to the sombrero. You know that is 0 for 4 in baseball talk, Matt. For Sam Hughes,
it's a turkey in bowling.
0-2 to kick off her UFC career. She's going to be taking on Brazil's Luana Pinheiro. And really different clash of styles coming up this weekend, because for Luana Pinheiro coming out of Brazil, if there was anybody out there in this world other than Ronda Rousey, an early influence of Luana's, or who else? Geez, I wonder, who just won the PFLC? Oh yeah, Kayla Harrison. Other than those two fighters, Luana Pinheiro has that ability to take Abdulrazak Alhassan's nickname of Judo Thunder, because if you watch the way that she fights, it's absolute insanity for one round. Doesn't really go past that. All of her fights so far in the last number have ended in the first round. 7 of them to be exact, including her last fight, which was her UFC debut against Canada's Randa Marcos. You know, we're from there. She's from here. Different parts, but still, in that fight, Luana Pinheiro went 5 of 6 on her takedown attempts in the round. She went absolutely crazy with her striking. And there are a lot of things to unpack with what I just said, because some of it's positive, a lot of it's actually very negative. Either way, the fight ends in controversy. Because, Matt, so far this year, if the people aren't aware, there's been 2 disqualifications in the UFC. Can you name both of them?
Pinheiro Marcos would be one, and I'm trying to think what the other one is. It doesn't come to mind.
Piotr Jan Aljamain Sterling is
sense.
The other one. Now, we've had others in the past. I mean, who can I think of? Hector Lombard is a guy that's been on the wrong end of a DQ, but still, in that fight, was she putting it on for the camera? Probably not, and Paul Felder kind of had to reverse his commentary on that one, because at first, it didn't look all that great. But then afterwards, when she's asking her coach, did I lose the fight? As the doctor's there, wasn't the best look. For Luana, Matt, what were some of the things that you liked to see out of her debut?
I really liked her output in the first round, but I know that's going to be a really big talking point in this video, because she's sort of that Paulo Costa mindset, where it's, yes, you burn really bright, but when you throw a crazy amount of output, that's how you get tired. And the problem with Pinheiro is she just throws so much that there's really... You do worry about her the second that 5-minute mark is done. And the fight that I'm going to bring up, and I can sort of sum it all up, Sabina Mazow, Alexis Davis. What were we worried about in that fight? We said, okay, Mazow's really good at distance. She has kicks. She's a good grappler. She has the great skills that you look for in a great prospect. But what is her opponent good at? Just being that grit, grind kind of a fighter who, hey, you might win the first round, but that's no problem. The fight starts in the second round. And I kind of see that a little bit in this matchup. Could I see Luana go out there, go 4 of 6 for takedowns, like you had said, 6 of 7 for takedowns in the first round on Sampage, take her down a lot, and really impose her will? I could see that. But if that is her game plan, especially early on, that's what I am going to worry about her cardio later on in the fight. And the thing about Sam Hughes is that she hasn't had a great run in the UFC. Let's just call it what it is. It's been a pretty bad one. Now, we have to remember, though, UFC debut against Tecia Torres, one of the better fighters in this division's history. And then her rebound performance is against Loma Lookboonmee, who, yes, it's sort of hard to gauge where she is in the division, but still, that's another really talented fighter. So I don't think you can just look at Sam Hughes and her last 2 losses and completely throw away the promise of her skill set.
No, and that's it. I mean, for Sam Hughes, this has been a talking point in every single video I've done to get ready for a Hughes fight, because the craziest part about it is she was supposed to take on Loopy Godinez not that long ago, who's also on this card. There's a lot of former common opponents featured on this card. That was supposed to be about a month ago, month and a half or so ago. Sam Hughes, a little bit of COVID protocols on that end, the team, what have you. But she's here. She's ready to fight Pinheiro. So what can we say about Sam Hughes? A lot of volume when she wants to. She can definitely initiate the clinch against a lot of different opponents. She had a ton of success against Vanessa Demopoulos until she got caught in those Hail Mary wild submissions that Demopoulos has. And maybe that's a fight they end up rematching at some point in the UFC. But for Sam Hughes, this is the point that I've driven home every single time I've talked about her. Track and field athlete at Wofford, and listen, she has cardio for days. If you look at it in her fight against Loma, the thing that bugged me, and I thought she was going to have a ton of success in it, was the fact that she's going to go out there and grapple. She's going to go out there and wrestle. You're taking on a pure Muay Thai artist. You're going to have tons of success there. No. Loma went 4 of 8 on her own takedown attempts, and it was almost every time that Sam tried to get a takedown, Loma ended up on top. There was even one at the end of one of the rounds where Sam just kind of pulls down to force the body weight, and Loma ends up on top for the last 10 seconds of the round. And even in between rounds, her corner, she had her main coach, But then she had special guest referee in the corner, future title challenger, bantamweight, Juliana Pena, saying, you got to go in there. You got to grapple. You got to initiate the clinch. That's not going to work against Pinheiro. But again, Pinheiro went 5 of 6 against a really good wrestler, grappler in this division, a stalwart, if you will. Somebody who can just kick out fighters like Lavinia Souza in Randa Marcos. Happy trails. But in this one, Matt, for Pinheiro, my trouble is, and it was the problem that I had when she was coming into the UFC, positionally, not the greatest when she gets the fight to the match. She's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt. She's a judo black belt. Her dad was a judo master. She learned from the age of 2. That's like Sidney Crosby putting on skates when he's a kid. You know he's going to be a superstar. You knew Pinheiro was going to end up making it this far. And she trains out of a power gym in Brazil in Novo União. I mean, Terrance is her head coach. So all of these things that you love. But crazy output, wild upper body throws. And the third takedown she had against Marcos, if it wasn't an issue and I could show highlights, I would show that. She picks her up, puts her completely in the air, and throws her down. It's stuff you don't see in this division.
You really don't. Like, it's pure filth in the judo area. But this is the point that I keep on going back to. I know we brought up a lot about her takedown attempts her last time out against Marcos. The thing is, Marcos is a really good wrestler herself, and I think Luana is going to be able to take Sam Hughes down. Of course, that's going to be a big part of this fight. I don't think she's going to have to throw that kind of volume to get the takedown, though. I think she can go out there and go 1 of 1, 1 of 2, and maybe be able to conserve herself a little bit better than some of these more eye-catching talents we've seen in the past against their grit and grime opponents. I really do think Luana can go out there, stay positionally aware in the clinch to where, and this is going to be the key, if she can have Sam Hughes up against the cage, not going for takedowns, not striking, just on those in-betweens, because those are going to be the real big key in this fight. If she can just sort of win the minutes in between the big actions of the fight, I think she will be able to win, because that's going to be her way to conserve her energy late. If she can do some of those big actions, I think, maybe 1 or 2 in the first round, win that round, and then start to put it on Hughes later on, I think she'll be able to do it, because my issue with Hughes is, she doesn't have that one area of her game that I really trust her to go to, that, oh, she's going to be able to stick behind the jab and really use her volume against Pinheiro. I think she might be able to do that, but I don't think she can stick to that game plan for a full 15 minutes, and that's why I really struggle with the Hughes pick. I know we like these kinds of underdogs in this type of matchup where it's more about their cardio and more about the grit and grind than it is about their skill, but I do find myself constantly going back to the Luana pick.
I gotta be completely honest, I completely disagree with the Pinheiro assessment. I'll just explain why. Fine. It's the fact that her last 7 fights have all ended in the first round, even the fight against Marcos. She overextends herself on a lot of shots. She is somewhat grappling aware enough that, okay, I can strike in this in between. Or in the fight against Marcos where she just blitzes forward, I can wait time, counter shot. And she looked amazing. Started to kind of teeter off as that first round went on. But I do not have faith in her second round, third round, because I haven't seen it, and she just throws so much output for somebody in this division. Couple the output with the striking, with the wild grappling and the judo throws, those are not recipes to cardio success. Something that Sam Hughes has. So when I look at the odds for this one, Pinheiro open a minus 185 favorite. She's a minus 384 right now. Those odds are cooked. Sam Hughes open a plus 160. She's a plus 301. If we look over on Topology, Matt, I'm going to guess over under 80% Pinheiro.
I think they'll be under, but just slightly.
Not even. 705 total votes, 92% Pinheiro. A large majority have her to win this fight by submission, which doesn't necessarily surprise me. But again, I mentioned all of those red flags. I think if you like Pinheiro, you like her in the first round, maybe a little bit in the second round, not so much in the third. Sam Hughes, in her last fight against Loma, was able to rally back in that third round, win it in the eyes of the judges and many. But again, the trouble is, for Sam Hughes, what can she do bigger and better in the first round than Luana can? I just don't know that. So maybe you like Sam Hughes by decision. I'm taking Pinheiro on the fact that I think she's going to be able to get it done round 1, round 2, but not by decision.
This is my problem with Hughes. You lost by TKO to Tisha Torres, who is not a finisher whatsoever. I can't rely on Hughes to be defensively sound for that first round, because that's the thing about Luana. If she is able to land on you in those first 5 minutes, you're going to be a diminished version of yourself for the rest of the fight. And that's where I don't think Hughes is going to have this massive advantage in her cardio. That was the point I guess I was trying to make. So I do like Luana in this fight, but I do agree with you. The odds aren't great on this, especially for the reason that we brought up. How many times have we seen a minus 350, a minus 500 go out there, look really good for 5 minutes, fall off a cliff cardio-wise, and then the underdogs sort of grind their way back in? It seems to happen once or twice every single fight card, so I wouldn't put any money near this fight.
Look out, because Sampage could be coming. Both of us going with the now 28-year-old Luana Pinheiro. Happy birthday, Luana. Mateusz Nicolau hanging out there too, and Team Novo and Yao. Matt, big time card coming up this weekend, headlined by Misha Tate and Vieira. You're not going to want to miss that. The rest of the card's great. Let's keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, as we always say. Let's get into it.